Hello and welcome to Test Talks. I'm your host, Yuval, and today we are looking at a fundamental crossroads in the enterprise world. We are joined by Shabi Levi, our Director of Channels and Alliances. Shabi, you and I have been discussing the System Integrator model for a long time. For decades, the industry thrived on a headcount-based approach. If a project got bigger, you just added more people. But it feels like that model is finally hitting a hard ceiling. When you're out there talking to our global and regional partners, what are the primary ugly truths they are facing with this legacy manual delivery model?
It is great to be here, Yuval. You are right. The ugly truth is that the old model is becoming strategic liability. When an SI relies purely on manual work, they are trapped by the expert dependency. I call it the rockstar bottleneck. If your top senior architects are overbooked or leave the firm, your project stalls. Beyond that, manual work is incredibly difficult to track. Progress is hidden in thousands of rows of spreadsheets that are out of date the moment they are saved.
It sounds like a constant cycle of playing catch-up, where the SI is essentially subsidizing inefficiency with their own margins.
Exactly. It is high stress and low predictability. We recently worked with a partner who was supporting a major Danish energy provider on an S4HANA migration. Traditionally, that SI would have had to deploy a bench of 20 developers for 2 months just to map the code and identify the risks. Think about the overhead of managing 20 people just for discovery. By pivoting to an agentic approach, they transformed that 10 weeks manual grind into a 1-week strategic audit. It wasn't just about saving time. It was about the fact that they could take those other 20 consultants and put them on the other high-value projects. That is the difference between linear growth and exponential growth for an SI.
This is a staggering difference. Seeing a 10-week phase shrink to 1 week really highlights how much dead weight exists in traditional discovery. It shifts the SI's value from just providing arms and legs to providing immediate, actionable insight. This leads us to the bigger picture of how SIs need to reposition themselves. We've been discussing the shift from selling hours to selling certainty. From the perspective of the end customer, the CIOs and the IT directors, how does the value proposition change when an SI moves away from that manual model?
The positioning shift is profound. First, the SI becomes a virtual extension of the client's team rather than just a third-party vendor. Second, it provides what I call a real-time command center. In a manual project, the CIO asks for a status update and gets a PowerPoint that is 48 hours old and probably massaged to look better. With an automated platform-led approach, the SI provides a single source of truth where the client can real-time progress.
Does that transparency ever scare AIs?
Initially, maybe, but they quickly realize that transparency is their best friend when it comes to scope creep. We have a partner in North America who completely shifted their delivery model towards this radical transparency. In the past, they struggled with he said, she said arguments with the client about project delays. Now, by sharing a single source of truth, the us versus them dynamic is gone. The client was so impressed by the visibility that they actually adopted the SI's internal methodology as their own corporate standard for change management. That is the ultimate level of client stickiness.
I love that idea of radical transparency, turning a vendor into a gold standard for the client's own internal processes. It's almost like the SI is exporting their excellence directly into the client's DNA. Before we look at the tech behind this, let's talk about the economics. If I'm a practice lead, I care about resource velocity. How does this new model impact the long-term project lifecycle, especially that dreaded hypercare phase?
This is where the profitability really shows up. In the traditional model, hypercare is a period of chaos where you have a massive team on site just putting out fires. Because the right things were fixed and tested upfront, the volume of post-go-live support tickets drops significantly. This means the SI doesn't need to keep that massive team on site for months.
It sounds like a fundamental change in the post-project cleanup phase.
It is. I was in a lesson learned session with a European partner recently. They noted that for the first time in a decade, they weren't burning their project margin on unforeseen fires in the 3 months following the go live. The day 2 ticket volume dropped so significantly that they were able to transition 80% of the project team to a new strategic win for a different client almost immediately. For an SI, being able to redeploy your team 2 months earlier than planned is a pure profit.
Redeploying 80% of a team 2 months early is a massive win for the P&L. It turns hypercare from a recovery zone into a launchpad for the next deal. To achieve this certainty and these economic gains, we have been talking about the agentic layer. Everyone in the SaaS world is talking about AI right now, but we are specifically discussing an agentic approach. Shabi, why is agentic the word we are betting on rather than just generative AI?
That is a crucial distinction. Gen AI creates content, but agentic AI executes workflows. It has agency. In the Panaya platform, the agentic layers acts as a force multiplier because it doesn't just wait for the prompt, it understands the goal of the migration. It is the difference between a tool that helps you write a test script and an agent that knows which test needs to be written based on the system's DNA. It proactively navigates the project. We break this down into 4 pillars: analyze, fix, test, and guide.
So it's the difference between a co-pilot who answers questions and a navigator who actually drives the ship. Now, let's drill down into the how. Talk to us about the analyze and fix phases. How do these actually function as the force multiplier?
The analyze phase replaces weeks of manual discovery with instant change impact analysis. It maps the entire DNA of the system to tell the SI exactly what will break. Then comes the fix, the automated code correction. The engine actually repairs the code to meet S/4HANA standards.
So instead of a $200 an hour developer fixing semicolons, they are doing architectural work.
Exactly. I remember a global SI that was facing a Mission Impossible deadline for a massive retail client. The code correction phase alone was slated to take 8 weeks of high-risk manual labor, which would have pushed the go-live past the holiday season. By embracing an automated correction philosophy, they managed to compress that entire 8 weeks backlog into a single, highly coordinated weekend. They met a deadline that the client internal team had literally called impossible. That is how you build a reputation in this industry.
Meeting a Mission Impossible deadline in a weekend is the ultimate proof of concept, I would say. It shows that the technology isn't just a helper, it's an enabler of speed that humans simply can't match manually. Following that logic through the project lifecycle, how do the test and guide pillars ensure that the rockstar bottleneck you mentioned earlier doesn't happen?
Testing usually bugs down because people try to test everything out of fear. The agentic layer identifies a risk-based scope, so the team only tests what actually matters. Then, the guide pillar acts like a GPS for the consultants. It effectively democratizes expertise. You no longer need your rockstar to guide every step. The platform guides the team.
So you're effectively scaling the expertise of your best people.
Precisely. One of our partners has effectively turned this approach into their secret sauce for greenfield deployments. By enabling their end customer to use the Panaya testing platform, particularly during the user acceptance testing phase, they created early hands-on exposure to the solution among business users. As a result, those same users began advocating internally for the adoption of the platform to support ongoing business changes, well beyond the initial greenfield implementation. This shift allowed the system integrator to elevate the role from a traditional implementation partner to a trusted advisor, embedding long-term value within their customer's organization. And ultimately, that transformation represents one of the most powerful outcomes any SI can achieve.
That shift from not just an implementer to trusted advisor is really the heart of the transformations we're talking about. You're empowering the business users while the SI focuses on the high-level strategy. If we recap the benefits for the SI, it seems to come down to 3 things: capacity, margin, and brand.
Spot on, Yuval. Capacity because you can do more with the same people. Margin because you are automating the low-value grunt work that usually eats your profit. And brand because you are the SI that delivers with certainty while everyone else is still guessing. You move from being a body shop to a high-tech transformation powerhouse.
It's a compelling vision for the future of consulting. I want to close with a different perspective. If you are a CIO or an IT director listening to this, and you are about to select an SI for a major transformation, what advice would you give them?
I would tell them to ask one simple question. Show me your engine. If an SI tells you they have 5,000 consultants, that is a resource statement, not a success statement. Ask them how they manage change impact analysis. If they don't have an agentic approach, you are the one paying for their learning curve and their manual errors. Look for the SI that offers transparency and data-backed certainty. That is the partner who will actually get you across the finish line on time.
Show me your engine. That is a powerful takeaway. It's about shifting the focus from headcount to capability. Shabi, thank you for this deep dive. It is clear that the agentic pivot is the new gold standard for both the SI and the end customer. For those listening who want to see how the Panaya platform can act as your own force multiplier, you can reach out to Shabi Levi on LinkedIn or visit panaya.com/partners. This has been Test Talks, and we will see you again in the next episode.